The rain tapped softly against the window, a quiet rhythm that matched the slow, heavy beat of my heart. I sat in the dim glow of a single lamp, the yellowed pages of an old photo album spread across my lap. Smiling faces stared back at me, faces I once knew, faces that once loved me. But that was before. Before the whispers, before the sideways glances, before they decided I was nothing but a burden. I let my fingers trace the edges of a faded picture, my son's graduation day. His grin was wide, his arm slung around my shoulders like I was his greatest pride. I had sold my jewelry to pay for his tuition. I had skipped meals so he could have new books. And now he wouldn't even return my calls. I closed the album and took a slow breath. The house was too quiet. The walls echoed with memories, with laughter that had long since turned cold. But they didn't know. They thought I was broke. They thought I had nothing left. They were wrong. It started with small things. My daughter-in-law's voice, sharp as broken glass, drifting from the kitchen. "She's becoming too much. We can't keep doing this." My son's sigh, the same sigh he used to give when he was a teenager, and I asked him to clean his room. "I know, but what are we supposed to do?" I stood frozen in the hallway, my slippers silent against the hardwood. My own breath felt too loud. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the weight of their words pressing down on my chest. I had lived in this house for 30 years. I had rocked my son to sleep in this very room. And now I was too much. A week later, the papers came. "Mom, we think it's time you moved somewhere. Easier to manage." Somewhere easier. A nice way of saying cheaper. A nice way of saying smaller. A nice way of saying out of our lives. I signed them. What else could I do? But as the pen left the paper, something inside me shifted. A quiet voice, barely a whisper, but stronger than it had been in years. No. The movers came on a Thursday. Gray skies, the kind that make everything feel heavier. I watched as they carried out my furniture. The oak dining table where we'd shared every holiday. The armchair where I'd nursed my son through fevers. Each piece held a memory, and each memory felt like a bruise being pressed. My granddaughter, Emily, stood in the corner, her small arms crossed. At 10 years old, she was already learning the family's new language. Silence, sideways glances, the art of pretending not to see. But then she tugged my sleeve. "Grandma," she whispered, "you forgot the box." I frowned. "What box?" She pointed to the attic. I hadn't been up there in years. The pull-down stairs groaned under my weight, the air thick with dust and forgotten things. And there it was, a small wooden chest tucked behind old suitcases. The lock was rusted, but it gave way with a twist. Inside, letters, dozens of them. My hands trembled as I unfolded the first one. "My dearest Eleanor, if you're reading this, I'm gone, but I made sure you'll never want for anything." It was from Harold, my husband, dead 15 years. I sank to my knees, the papers spilling around me. Bank statements, property deeds, a will, not the one my family knew about, the real one. Harold's voice seemed to echo in the stillness. "They'll try to take it from you, so I hid it, for when you really need it." Outside, the movers laughed, loading my life into their truck. But for the first time in years, I smiled. The rain had turned to a fine mist by the time I reached the law firm. Water dripped from my coat as I stepped inside, the smell of old books and leather chairs wrapping around me. The receptionist gave me a polite smile. "Can I help you?" I clutched the wooden box tighter. "I need to see Mr. Henderson. Tell him Eleanor Whitmore is here. About Harold's will." Her smile faltered. Oh my. Just one moment." The clock on the wall ticked loudly as I waited. Tick, tock, tick, each second stretching longer than the last. Then the door opened. Mr. Henderson looked older now, his hair completely white, but his eyes were just as sharp as they'd been at Harold's funeral. When he saw me, his face went pale.
"Eleanor,"
he breathed. "My God, you found it." I placed the box on his desk. The lid creaked as I opened it. "I need to know what this means." His hands trembled as he sorted through the papers. Then he looked up, tears in his eyes.
"Harold was smarter than all of us,"
he said softly.
"The will your family knows about, the one leaving everything to your son, it's a decoy. This,"
he tapped the yellowed document,
"this is the real last will and testament of Harold Whitmore."
The words blurred as I read them.
"To my beloved wife, Eleanor, I leave the entirety of my estate, including the properties at 112 Maple Lane and 45 Harbor View, all stocks and bonds, and the contents of safety deposit box, Mars 712.
Mr. Henderson leaned forward.
"Eleanor, do you understand what this means? That house they're selling out from under you? It's not theirs to sell."
A strange calm settled over me. "Call my son," I said. "Tell him there's been a change of plans." The family arrived in separate cars. My son David first, his expensive shoes clicking against the marble floor of the lawyer's office. Then my daughter-in-law Sarah, her designer purse clutched tight like armor. Even little Emily trailed behind them, her eyes darting between the adults. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat.
"Thank you all for coming on such short notice."
David leaned forward, elbows on knees.
"What's this about? If it's about Mom's
live-ing situation, it's about the will," I said quietly. Sarah's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "Harold's will? That was settled years ago." Mr. Henderson opened the wooden box. The sound of the lid creaking seemed louder than it should have been.
"Not quite,"
he said. The room went still as he began reading. With every word, David's face darkened. Sarah's manicured nails dug into the leather chair.
"The properties at Maple Lane and Harbor View to be held in trust for Eleanor's sole use. All investment accounts transferred to Eleanor's name. The family home to remain in Eleanor's possession for as long as she lives."
David shot to his feet.
"This is ridiculous! That house is—"
"Yours?" I finished for him. My voice didn't shake. "No, David, it was never yours." Emily tugged at her mother's sleeve. "What's happening?" Sarah didn't answer. She was staring at the final page, the one that listed the numbers, the amounts. I saw the exact moment they all realized, the money they'd been counting on, the inheritance they'd been waiting for, the reason they'd been so eager to move me out. It was never coming. The house was quiet again. Sunlight streamed through the windows of what had almost become someone else's home. My fingers traced the familiar grooves of the kitchen table, the same table where I'd packed school lunches, signed permission slips, celebrated birthdays. A single envelope sat in front of me. Inside was a letter I'd written to David weeks ago but never sent. I unfolded it carefully, the paper crisp under my touch. "My dear son," it began. "When you were 7, you broke your arm climbing the oak tree in the backyard. Do you remember? You were so brave at the hospital, even when the doctor set the bone. That night, as I tucked you into bed, you looked up at me with those wide eyes and said, 'Mommy, will you stay until I fall asleep?' Did. I always did. I would have stayed forever, David, but somewhere along the way, you stopped asking.